Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dynamically Export DWG, PDF, and NWC files with Ideate Automation and Ideate BIMLink. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software, and joining me is also Jason Bailey, our training manager from Ideate Software, and he's going to be covering the question panel. So if you find that question panel, please type questions and we will answer those as best we can during the webinar. And if we don't have a chance to answer them during the webinar, then we'll get back to you afterwards. Again, my name is Richard Taylor. I'm one of the technical evangelists here at Ideate Software. I am located up in Boston, Massachusetts. I am always happy to connect with people. If you want to ask me a question via email at richard.taylor@ideatesoftware.com, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can follow me on X/Twitter. But my background is architecture. I was fortunate enough to be one of the original employees at Revit Technology back about 23 years ago. And then everyone knows Autodesk purchased Revit Technology, and I was at Autodesk for about 12 years as one of the Revit product managers. And then almost 10 years ago, I came to Ideate Software. So that's my sort of real quick background. So thank you for joining me today. All right, so I know a lot of you are familiar with Ideate Software, but I like to put this slide in there just to give you a quick overview that we develop applications for Revit. We have 5 applications that are sort of add-ins that are built onto Revit, and then we have this application that we're going to be talking about today called Ideate Automation that is actually a desktop application that runs processes or tasks that are involved with Revit. I always want to point out the Ideate Software website. If I click here on Ideate Software, we're going to go to the website. And so if you come over to support, you'll see all of our products listed. Today, and we're talking about Ideate Automation, I'm going to go to the help files here. And so on our Ideate Software website, we have all kinds of help information, support, blogs, technical blogs. So if I come down here to the help files for Ideate Automation, and if you're just getting started with Ideate Automation, you may be wondering, well, how do I do something, right? So there's a whole section on how to export PDF, how to export AutoCAD DWG, NWC, Navisworks, IFC, the industry foundation classes, and so forth. So there's great information. If you select on, for instance, export to PDF, this is one of the things we're going to be talking about today is publishing dynamic sheets. How do we use Ideate BIMLink? But we can also do this just using Revit as well. But I wanted to point out that those, there's a lot of information. Also, if you come to our blog, I always encourage people to follow this. We have a whole series of support training. These are 2, I think, really good ones. If a customer has emailed us or contacted us and with a support question, we try to document that and we convert that into a blog because we feel that that information is good for everyone. And so there's a lot of very sort of highly technical support articles in here as well. And that's always a good resource. Just wanted to let you know. And of course, we also have a channel on YouTube for videos, and we have a YouTube playlist as well as a What's New playlist on YouTube. All of our Ideate Software solutions are available, are updated for Revit 2020 through 2024. We do have earlier versions, but the latest is only supported on Revit 2020 through 2024. And in fact, Ideate Automation is only available for Revit 2020 through 2024. Okay, so what is Ideate Automation, you may ask? Well, it is as I said, it's a desktop solution that allows you to script specific tasks that you can run again and again, and you can schedule these tasks to run at off hours, maybe 2 in the morning, for instance. Again, I wanted to point out here that when I click on this link, this was the link I showed you earlier, which was how to export PDF and dynamic sheet sets, and that's specifically what we're going to be reviewing today, is creating PDFs, DWG, and NWC. We're not doing the IFC because IFC doesn't use sheets. It's really exporting the entire model, so that's why it's a little bit different. Okay, Ideate Automation. So it is a robust Windows application allowing you to automate Revit tasks. It can be run either with or without Ideate software solutions. So we have a whole series of tasks that can be run where you don't need any Ideate software. But today we're going to be talking about Ideate BIMLink, which using Ideate Automation with BIMLink to basically define your sheet set. So that's a way that you can use some of the applications. And of course, I'm also going to talk about at the end how you could use Ideate BIMLink to export out a health check, and that health check is also using Ideate Explorer and our Ideate apps. We also have, the ability to use Style Manager, and so all of our applications can be used with Ideate Automation. And in fact, here's a nice little chart. So if you haven't downloaded Ideate Automation, you can go to our website. You can download a full function 30-day trial for all of these tasks. So you can open files, you can do a PDF export, and you can publish to DWG, NWC, IFC. You can do some file maintenance activities, and you can even publish to the Autodesk Construction Cloud, all that without the need for Ideate software. Now, if you have Ideate software, many of you probably have our bundle, then you could add the power of BIMLink, Explorer, Style Manager, and apps, and you can do many more tasks. And I highlighted in green here what we're going to talk about, the dynamic PDF, DWG, NWC exports today. And so, if you're just starting out and you don't have any Ideate software, you can still use Ideate Automation, or if you have one of these or one or more of these solutions, you can still try out Ideate Automation and work with one of our applications. Export to PDF, DWG, NWC, and IFC. Now, I included the IFC in this one because this is the publishing in general, right? But when we're talking about dynamic, it's only PDF, DWG, and NWC. So it allows you to like I said, schedule these publishes offline, or maybe at 3 in the morning. So that it takes a long time to open up the model. You might have multiple links. It may take an hour to open up the model. You could schedule that at 2 in the morning and then have it publish to a specific location. And again, we're going to go through that. A lot of people ask us, the PDF publishing engine that we're using is the one that's built into Revit, and that's why we're supporting Revit versions 2022 and forward for PDF, and Revit versions 2020 for the DWG export. So I'm sorry to say right now, other PDF publishing methods are not supported, such as Bluebeam and others. We've certainly been asked about that. We have a number of request issues, so that may be something that we're looking at, but right now we're using the PDF that's built into Revit. So here is the Ideate Automation interface, right? And so, like I said, it's a desktop application. So what I'm going to do is actually switch over to that right now. So here is Ideate Automation. The latest version is 3.1 that you can download from our website. A couple things here is there's a getting started guide. Also, if you want to use your BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud, you will need to go through what we're calling the Ideate Cloud Connector. Basically, that is giving your hub, your Autodesk Construction Cloud hub, access, or it's giving Ideate Automation access to that hub for the list of models that are on that hub. And so we know we don't have access to the actual models themselves. It's just really the list. So if you do want to be using either BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud, you will need to go through the Ideate Cloud Connector, or you can go through the recent files list. If you've already opened up the model, it will be in your Revit recent files, and we can access the information there. So you'll notice over to the left, there is a number of sort of panels here, right? So the files that I'm using, again, the files may be my live. I'm logged into my Autodesk Construction Cloud account. So I have live cloud models that I've sort of selected. Think about it as a curated list. It's not every single model, it's only the models that I've selected to use. The same way with the local models, I may have thousands of Revit models on my desktop local machine, but I've only curated and said, these are the small list of local models that I'm going to be using, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and create. So I'm going to actually go through a very simple task here just to show you how this would work without any Ideate software. So without the, dynamically using the BIMLink to define the sheet set. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the publishing. And if those of you that are familiar with Ideate BIMLink, these will probably look very familiar to you. The way we've organized this is it's at the top, automation scripts that do not require any Ideate software, and Ideate software scripts that actually do. And by the way, if I just click on, let's say as an example, health check, and I click on it, it's always going to tell you what it requires. It requires at least Automation 3.0, BIMLink 6.1, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Apps, as an example. So it's going to tell you the requirements of what needs to happen. So I'm going to go again to the publishing. I'm going to go do a publishing combined, right? It actually tells me what I need. And I'm going to talk about this aught get file data as an example in a second. It's basically, if it's a work shared model, I need to run that first to get the list of available work sets. In my simple example, I'm not going to use a work share model. So you'll see, like, I'm just going to select that I want this to be a combined PDF. I'm going to select next. So what Revit files do I want to use? Well, I can browse to my live Autodesk Construction Cloud models, my local models. In this case, I'm going to pick this sample Revit structure. And the reason I'm doing that is it's super simple. It actually opens super fast, and I'm only going to do 4 sheets. So I know that I can do this in a reasonable amount of time. So I'm going to select that file. You can actually browse to multiple files, or you can use a list. So if you have a text file that has 5 Revit models or 10 Revit models, you can use that list instead of having to pick it every single time. Here's where I'm saying that this is not a work shared model, so it doesn't matter what I have here. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a second. I'm going to say, well, where do I want this PDF to go to? I want it to go to my PDF output. I'm going to select that folder. All right. Now, the last thing I need to do is, this is a sheet set that is defined within Revit. So, I opened the model, I selected the 4 sheets, I saved the sheet set called set 1. So this is, it's not dynamic, meaning that, if I wanted to add a sheet to this list, I would have to open up the Revit model, I would have to add the sheet to set 1, and then save it. So, but right now I'm just going to say set 1, say next, okay? And so everything else, this is the command that gets built, basically. And once the command is available, the option is to save and run. So now it's running. It's going to call up Revit, the appropriate Revit version. As you saw, it knows what version, whether it's Revit 2022 or Revit 2024. And so in this case, it's bringing up Revit 2023 for the sample Revit structural product or project, I guess, that's delivered with Autodesk. And you see it says automated processes are running. So what we've done is suppressed many of the pop-ups that would, cause Revit to stop opening. So we've suppressed many pop-ups. We've reviewed all that information. We're always sort of looking at other pop-ups or other third-party applications that might cause some, Revit to, again, stop or have some kind of interaction where you need to open it. But this is great because you see that it completed. And I'm on Eastern time. So you see it started at 12:15 p.m. And so this was done. You can actually see I can right click and I can repeat the task. I can clone it. I can say that, I can open up a log. What I may want to do is, once it completes correctly and I say, oh, this is great, now I can schedule it. So I can say, well, this is my, daily PDF publish, right? And I would actually like to have this start at 3 in the morning every day. So I can see daily, weekly, monthly. and I say save. And so now when I go to tasks, that ends up getting, I've actually have a couple of them there. Where was the one? Oh, I already have one at 3 a.m. But you see, it actually hasn't run yet. This is the one I just did, daily PDF publish. It hasn't completed because I only created it today. And so now it's scheduled to run. And you see, I have other ones. I have a health check that's scheduled to run at 1 a.m. I have another health check that's scheduled to run weekly at midnight. Okay, so what did we create? Let's go over here to my PDF output, and you'll see that, again, here's the timestamp. I'm again Eastern time. It says it was on 12/14 at 12:16 p.m. And here was the combined PDF. So like I said, it's just really simple. It's only 4 sheets, and it was using that sheet set that was defined within Revit. Okay, so there's our baseline of sort of one task that we ran through and that we used. We didn't use actually any Ideate software to do that. We just used the sheet set that was defined within Revit. But now, what if we want to sort of expand on this? Okay, first concept is we have a work shared file. That work shared file, as you noticed when I I said close work sets, it needs to know what the work sets are named. So there is a task called get file data, and basically it sort of scrapes the information of the list of work sets, and it saves that. So it has a CSV file that will be that list of work sets. So that when you say close work sets, and you might say, oh, close architecture or architecture star, which is the wild card. It will then close all architecture work sets, as an example. Like in this case, our sort of in the template, we've done asterisk link asterisk, meaning that any work sets that have link within them, close because they're not maybe important for publishing. So that's the first thing that we should run. Then the next thing is we need to define a list of sheet and views within Ideate BIMLink. So if you're familiar with that, I'm going to come over here to Revit, all right? And here we go to Ideate software, and we're going to select on Ideate BIMLink. And you notice I deleted all my links except for just this one called SD, schematic design sheets. I'm going to look at the properties here, and the properties are basically, all this information, right, that I could export out. But what I've done is I've added a filter where the placeholder is equal to false and the sheet number contains SD. So at the time that we're running the Ideate Automation script, it's going to look at this definition. So if you happen to add a sheet that was SD 108, it will automatically pick that up. That's why we say it's dynamic, because it's reading it at the time that the script is running, as opposed to the sheet set or the view set that's defined within Revit that's very static. And you'll notice that if I remove this particular filter, then I'm getting all of the sheets, right? And so in this case, I did an and condition where the placeholder is equal to false, as well as it has to start with SD. I'm going to go back here to the properties because I didn't save that. So now it has to have both of these conditions. Basically, that's what it means when elements must pass all filters. It's an and condition. So now that I've defined that, I have two options. Ideate Automation can read the sheet or the Ideate BIMLink definition within the Revit model. In this case, it's saved as, when I do a sync to central, it's SD underbar sheets is saved as a BIMLink definition. But I also have the ability to say save link definition. I right click and I can pick where I want this to be. So if I go to desktop, I've got my dynamic, where am I at here? Dynamic publish. And I've got link definitions. And I've actually already saved it there, all right? And when you save off a link definition, it's going to be by default .link. Okay, now, You may ask, okay, well, why is that important? Well, it's important because in the script that we include for the dynamic PDF publish or DWG publish or NWC publish, there is this option to always use external link definition. So you see I've got it on the right hand, I've got it highlighted there. It basically means don't look in the Revit model, look in the folder. And whatever's in the folder, go ahead and run, use that definition. If that is unchecked, this is the next sheet, or it's going to look by default in the model. And even if you have this unchecked where down below it says always use external link, in this case, the first thing it's going to do is look at SD underbar sheets. Is it saved in the Revit model that I'm selecting? If it's not, then it's going to go out to the default, which is the samples directory, and see if it's there as well. So it's kind of a hierarchical process here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I have this little video here, and what this is doing is, again, we're going to go and create, we're going to select on the dynamic publish, very similar to what I did earlier, except that we're going to do a combined PDF using a model from the Autodesk Construction Cloud. This happens to be in the Snowden dataset. Notice that I can choose which work sets I want because I've already run that other script, which was the basically the get files. So it has the list of Revit work sets. So you notice that here's the same sort of sheet, the SD sheets. In this case, I'm calling it AUT sheet as opposed to SD. But you can set up, your file name and other optional settings. This is the key. There's a little plus symbol here, which allows you to review additional settings. When you select on that little plus, it's giving you this always use external link, or so you can check or uncheck. By default, if you don't do that little plus, it's always going to look for the external. So, and by default, it's set up for the sheets. So we have in our samples library, we have a link definition called sheets. So it's going to use that even if you don't have it defined within your model. So now we're going to go ahead and say save, or I say save and run. And we're going to run this. And again, it's going to open up the model. And now instead of using that, the sheet set, which I called set one that you saw me do earlier, it's going to use that BIMLink definition called AUT dash sheets. And again, it can be any name that you like, but that's what it's going to use. And so now that this is complete, we can then check to make sure that it has the same sheets or the PDF sheets that we want. So here is what we just created under Automation Export, and we're going to double click, and here are the SD sheets. And the SD sheets are matching exactly the sheets within Ideate BIMLink that we have defined. So that's really, again, the dynamic. And the advantage here, like I said, is you can add sheets and add information or change filters and much easier than you can with the Revit sort of static sheet set. So some additional workflows, I already talked about this, but I just wanted to go over it, is that we're supporting BIM 360 or the Autodesk Construction Cloud, either through the recent files list. And remember I mentioned to you that our technical blogs have a lot of great information. We have a whole technical blog on using the recent file list and bypassing the Autodesk, or I'm sorry, the Ideate Cloud connector if you don't want to go through the integration. So you can do the recent files or you can do the integration. If you do the integration, what's nice is you can also publish Revit models. Currently, Autodesk is only allowing you to do this one time per week, and you need to have administration rights. And there's no option to exclude links. But with our publish to the Autodesk Construction Cloud, anyone can do it. You can do it, at basically, every day if you'd like, and you can include or not include links. So there's a lot more robust functionality there. You can also schedule a Revit model open. As I said, a lot of times these models take an hour to open. So of course you could schedule a Revit open and a publish, but maybe you just want it to remain open so that when you arrive at your desk at 9 a.m., the Revit model is open and ready for you. So Ideate Automation will allow you to do that as well. And there is a very comprehensive model health check that is included with Ideate Automation that is actually exporting information from Ideate BIMLink, from Ideate Style Manager, and from Ideate Explorer. If you are interested in this, we did a webinar exactly 1 week ago today where my colleague Naveen presented this and did a lot of information about this health check. The health check allows you to either create an Excel file, or, well, actually, both of them are Excel, but one of the Excel files is sort of consumable by Power BI. So the template is set up specifically for Power BI. And that is also included with our Ideate Automation. So you could export out this information, and you'll notice that we're highlighting things that in blue came from Ideate Explorer, things that in green came from Ideate BIMLink, and then the orange comes from Ideate Annotate. And then I showed you that you can schedule these so that you can go ahead, once the task has completed once successfully, then you can say, this is great, I'm going to schedule this to run, and you can run it on your individual laptop or your computer. It doesn't have to be a dedicated computer, but it could be a server or it could be a virtual machine. We have customers that are using that as well. But the real advantage is there's not a lot of sort of IT setup. You can run this from your computer or your laptop very easily. So again, in summary, we've got 1 minute left. Ideate Automation is a Windows application, and there's really very little or no IT that setup is required. You can run tasks off hours. You can generate automated and consistent results. And again, the last little bullet item there, what would you like us to automate? That is something that is in the survey question. So please complete the short survey. Hopefully this has been informative for you. Again, there are multiple ways to publish to PDF, using the static sheet set that is defined within Revit, sheet or view set, or using dynamic that we talked about today, where you're using Ideate BIMLink to define the sheet sets, and you can then have that BIMLink definition live within the model or live in a directory. And depending on what script or the options of the script, you can either point to the BIMLink definition stored within the model or the BIMLink definition stored in a particular directory. So again, hopefully this has been very helpful to you. We are here for questions. I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you very much from Ideate Software.